Hi, today I'm going to make a simple Chile Verde on the stovetop. What I have is 2.5 pounds of pork shoulder, boneless, that I cut into about 1-inch cubes. I have 1 teaspoon of salt that I'll mix in, and I roughly diced 1 onion. So I'm going to mix this all together and let it come to room temperature about an hour before I cook. Ideally, you want to let this marinate overnight so the pork picks up the extra flavors. But right now I'm just going to do a 1 hour marinade. Alright, the pork has been marinating for about an hour. Basically all I did was mix in salt and onions. So next step is to pan fry it to get some browning, and then to the pork I'll add some garlic and cumin, ground cumin, about 2 cloves of garlic and a teaspoon of cumin. Also, since it's Chile Verde, I'm going to add a can of green chile. And I have salsa, green salsa left over. I might as well get rid of it. It's about a cup. Then I have unsalted broth, chicken broth. But since it's unsalted, I'm going to add a larger cube of chicken bouillon. So that'll add more salt and chickeny flavor to the pork. I think pork and chicken broth and chicken bouillon go together instead of using a beef bouillon. So next step is to brown the pork, and I'll continue on. Alright, I have a tablespoon of bacon fat and a tablespoon of high temperature avocado oil. So I'm going to start browning the pork a little at a time. So it's probably going to take about 2-3 minutes per batch. I'll try to just split it in half. I'm roughly cooking about 3 minutes per side before I stir. Alright, I've lightly browned the pork. So I'm going to take the leftover onions that was in the marinade and add it to the pan to deglaze it. Also at this time, I'm going to add the garlic and cumin to sort of bloom the spices, to sort of get them activated and toasted. This is only going to take a second because the pan's pretty hot and you can smell it already. I'm going to add the green chilies. This is how it looks with the can open. Also add some more liquid. This is the remaining salsa. I'll just add that. And pour the pork back in to this mixture. Just squirt the tasty bits off the bottom. Add the pork and the juices back in. Sometimes I think the browning the pork doesn't really make that much of a difference, but on the upside is you get the tasty brown bits this on the bottom that adds more flavor to the mix. So I've added the green chilies and the cumin and garlic and the salsa. So the next thing is to add the broth. So with this type of pork, it's especially if I'm going to cook it on top of the pan, I'm going to cook it low and slow because this is a less tender cut. So this is a quart of the bone broth. And I add till I almost cover the pork. And since I am cooking it on the stovetop, I'll add a little more to account for evaporation. Also, what I'll do is, since there's still some salsa residue left, I'm just gonna pour the remaining in here. And shake out the jar. So that's 1 quart of bone broth, unsalted. So I'm going to add the bouillon cube, the chicken. So the only salt I've added to this recipe so far is that teaspoon of salt when I added the onions and the salt together. So when this comes to a boil, I'll turn it down to a simmer and let it cook for about 2.5 to 3 hours. So this is my Chile Verde, which is essentially green chili pork stew. Alright, everything's come to a boil. I've just turned it down to medium-low or low-medium, so 2 out of 10 on the scale. So I'm just going to cover and let it cook for about 2.5 to 3 hours on a low simmer. Alright, here's the stew cooking, or the Chile Verde cooking an hour later. I just turned down the heat. It was actually boiling a lot more vigorously. So it was about 2.5, and now I've turned it down to 1. I want the stew to just barely simmer, or lightly simmer. Alright, the Chile Verde has been simmering away for about 2 hours. I just tried a piece and it's pretty tender, so it's pretty much done. Since this is essentially a pork stew, what you can do is add potatoes as much as you like to the stew and let it cook another half hour. But I don't eat potatoes, but other folks in the house do, so I'm going to cut a bunch of potatoes and add some of the extra stock into the potatoes to flavor it and cook the potatoes. So I'm going to probably cook this potato separately, or I could take some of the stew out and then add the potatoes to the broth. So either way. So this is, I'm going to let this simmer a little more for probably half hour. And on the side, I'll dice some potatoes and cook that, and that should be done. Alright, here's the finished Chile Verde. This is the one with potatoes, and this is my dish. And instead of potatoes, I used some cauliflower. And this is the first time I've tried eggs, and it just sounded like a good combination. Toppings can vary. Here's chopped onions, and also chopped some bell pepper, red bell pepper, and a little bit of jalapeno. Some chopped green onion, shredded lettuce that I shredded, cheese. Also, you can make tostadas or use this as a burrito filling, but for tostadas we like usually using the pre-made stuff, since it's already made and it's easier to you don't have to do a lot of preparing. Also with tostadas, usually you put a layer of beans on it to act like the glue to keep things together. So red salsa, some habanero green salsa, some jalapeno green salsa, Parmesan cheese. It's whatever you'd like to top it with, but this is pretty much Chile Verde, which is green chili pork stew. All right, here's my finished bowl. With the cauliflower and hard-boiled egg, I threw in some of this onion pepper mixture, green onions, just a little touch of lettuce, and topped with Parmesan cheese and sharp cheddar cheese right there. Alright, this is how we make tostadas. You take the crispy shell, add some beans on the bottom, then meat, potatoes if you like, as much as you want or as little as you want. Then just start topping with what you like. Cheese, lettuce, tomatoes, onions if you like, salsa. So it's pretty straightforward to make a tostada. Right there.